Are you disappointed?
What do you like about this, Adam, playing another team in the middle of the week? What's it do for you?
Well, I think it's good. Obviously, going against the same defense, same scheme, same players every day. At some point, it gets a little, a little old. But so I think it'll be good just to kind of break it up and see different faces, see different schemes, different defense, and and compete at probably a little bit more of a pace, just because you're going against a different colored jersey.
What did you see from them on tape? I mean, they were number one passing defense last year. Is there something that you can pull from what they're doing now that makes them that good?
Well, I mean, their secondary. I mean, that's what stuck out on tape to me. Obviously, that's what I look for, and the way that they were covering guys. There was every catch that you saw against them was contested, and so we have a lot of respect for those guys in the back end. What they've done. It's kind of a bummer that Jalen's not here because he's such a great player, and they're such a good duo. So it would have been fun to compete against them. But like I said, they're really good in the back end, and that's what you want as an offense.
Adam, does trash talking on the field ever get to you? Does it ever affect you?
No. It's all part of the game. It's all fun. We're out here. We put everything we got into this, and I think that's just part of the game. I mean, you're competitive, and the guy you're going against is competitive, and it's going to come out, and that's what I love that about this game. So I try not to let it get to me. That's for sure.
How often does it come out? Like, I mean, is it just specific players that you're facing that are going to do that, or is it pretty much anybody you face in the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's anybody. I mean, I think anybody that's a competitor wants to give you their best effort, and I think that when they make a good play, there's going to be a little jabber here and there. So for us, it's just like I said, it's part of the game, and we like to have fun with it.
Who's the best trash talker you've gone up against?
I don't know. That's a great question. I really don't know.
And what have you thought of your own cornerbacks? You got so many that looks like that good camps and play well in the past. What's that been like? Because it looks like you go 3 deep in that position. What's it like in practice?
You're saying our quarterbacks we have here?
Corners, yeah.
Oh, our corners.
Yeah.
Our corner depth is unbelievable right now. You look at our outside guys, the guys in the slot. You're gonna get a really good corner no matter where you're lined up, and I love that. I know our receivers love that. It makes it, when you go to a game, it makes it a little bit more. It makes you play a little freer, because in practice you're getting held, they're all over you. Every catch is contested, and in the game it almost feels a little easier because maybe it's not as contested, not as much grabbing going on, things like that. So it's so good to go against a good defense every single day. Obviously one of the best in the NFL, and it's gonna help us in the long run.
Do you feel like you know the style of Filippo's offense at this point, or are you still sort of eager and curious to see how kind of game planning and calling unfolds?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, because obviously there wasn't too much of a sample size from the preseason game number 1 to really understand how he's going to call plays and things like that. But we have a pretty good idea. We know his personality. We know how he's been calling plays out here in our different situations. I think that's something that obviously Coach Zimmer does a great job, is putting us in game-like situations, and that stuff comes out. So it's another opportunity to figure out what he's going to call in certain situations, on certain down and distances and things like that, and against certain coverages as well. So we're starting to figure it out. That's why it's so great to be out here in practice, and why you have to take advantage of OTAs and then training camp.
Last year the Jaguars were pretty incredible at producing turnovers. Knowing that, does that kind of change your approach in your practices with them?
It doesn't change the approach, but it kind of goes back to what I said before, is when you watch them on tape, there's so many contested catches. There's not a whole lot of just open guys catching the ball and turning and running. And I think that's what led to turnovers. When there's contested catches, when there's a guy all over a guy when he's trying to catch a football, it usually leads to tip balls and overthrows and things like that, where that's where you're getting your interceptions from, and turnovers. So, like I said, they're all over the ball. They're a fast defense from the defensive line to the back end. So, it's going to be a challenge this next couple of days.
When you watch back film of practices, what do you think makes Kirk such a good quarterback with play action passes and just run fakes and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't evaluate the quarterback too much. I'm mostly watching what I'm doing and trying to get open. But from my perspective, I guess it would probably just be the fact that he can make all the throws, and then he is a smart enough guy to know where to go with certain coverages, certain situations, when he needs to check the ball down, when he needs to take a shot, and that stuff sometimes goes unseen. And but when you're around him every day, you see it. You see his mindset. When we do the situational stuff at the end of practices, you see that stuff really come out.
What sort of pressure do RPOs put on cornerbacks in your face? Can you see different reactions from them?
Yeah, I think it just makes them have to cover the whole game. A lot of times when you don't have RPOs and you're blocking, it's kind of a playoff for the corner sometimes. And so now it just makes them have to cover all game and have to be alert and ready for any situation, any time of the game. Whether it be a 4-minute drive or first play of the game, they got to be locked in and ready to go.
What are you hoping to get out of this preseason game that maybe you didn't get out of the first preseason game?
Honestly, mindset doesn't change. I think you treat every game the same, whether it's a regular season or preseason or out here at training camp practice. You're trying to win every route and try to put stuff on tape that looks really good. Like I said, I don't think any mindset changes, because I think if you do start to change your mindset, say, oh, it's only a preseason game or things like that, that's when you don't perform well. So for me, I try to treat every practice rep, every preseason game just like I would a game, and usually that makes it a little bit easier on game day when you've already been going full speed and taking advantage of those reps at all training camp and preseason.
And when you practiced against the Bengals a couple of years ago, did you find that, I know you guys don't game plan per se for preseason games, but when you've been going against somebody for a couple of days, do you find that it carries over in terms of being able to set a guy up and knowing the tendencies a little bit more?
Yeah, I guess yeah. It's kind of like when you go against your defense for so many times, you gotta change things up. You might beat him one time with a certain move or a certain way you ran a route, but then they go and watch film with their coach and they say, okay, this is what you need to do better, and then they usually cover it pretty well the second time. So yeah, you definitely got to switch things up. It's just like in a game, though. I mean, it's so game-like, because there's times in a game you're going to run the same route, and if you won the first time, you're going to have to switch it up a little bit. Otherwise, he's going to be all over it. So I think it's very, very game-like situation to have to switch up your routes and switch up the way you win. Cool. Thanks, guys.